Here in these great United States, so many of our laws concern themselves with the matter of who among us shall have the right to kill. And sadly, as it turns out, few of us do. Sure, a corporation can kill you, providing it does it slowly and without your knowledge. And of course the government can kill you by sending you off to die in some godforsaken land, or if need be, right here at home with a mandated vaccine. But you and I are prescribed by law from killing. Unless it's in self-defense, or if you are fortunate enough to come from a wealthy family or have a Heisman Trophy. And so we have a whole menu of laws to punish any manner of killer, from the thug murdering someone in the street to the tragic woman trapped in a life she never wanted, caring for a paraplegic veteran husband that she slowly poisons over time. We've put a pretty heavy penalty on almost every kind of murder.
Guilty of murder.
But a very powerful, small group of people, about 50% of us, are demanding to have the privilege of committing murder all to themselves, claiming they have an exclusive birthright to kill the most vulnerable of victims. A baby.
Dead babies can't take care of themselves.
Which to me, as a man, seems at the very least unfair. You mean, ladies, a man gets no say in the murder of your jointly created baby? None at all? He was your partner, your accomplice. And let's face it, he did most of the work.
Our body! Our body!
Imagine claiming for yourselves alone the exquisite joy of playing God with another life.
My body! My business!
A soul. For, as some would have it, up to 40 weeks. Is today the day you're going to be savagely ripped from my womb? Maybe. Well, ladies, that's just greedy. It's a Bond villain power, so I suppose one can understand a woman wanting that all for herself. And technically, it is her uterus. But today, when equity is so important, it just doesn't seem fair that crushing a baby's skull and ripping it to pieces is a privilege reserved for women alone. But then, if a gal doesn't strip that innocent baby from her womb within the locally sanctioned free murder window, things change. When it's born, suddenly that baby belongs to both of you. And the fella, who like so many mothers might have been perfectly happy slipping a large pair of shears into his partner's birth canal and snipping off that baby's limbs, is now legally bound to pay for that little vacuum dodger's food and upkeep for the next 18 years. As any guy knows, women are reluctant to pay for anything they can get a gentleman to spend money on. Well, maybe it's the feminist in me, but I say if a group of people aren't given a seat at the table because of some immutable characteristic from birth, maybe that table needs to be overturned. Perhaps having the right to tear a baby from its life support system, toss it into a dumpster with hundreds of others to be slipped to some big pharma vaccine lab is too much power and privilege to be had by only one group. Make no mistake, a pregnancy certainly poses women with a tough dilemma. Do I have a kid who'll no doubt fail to learn math at grade school but will probably get a whole new gender? Or do I abort the clump of cells, fingers, eyes, and toes to help find a monkeypox vaccine that will be kept off the market? It is a tough decision. And so it's kind of sad that after weighing their options and deciding to hand over their fetus to a drug company, most women don't even bother to take the time to personally murder their own baby. Instead, they fob that off on someone else. Someone who's gone to medical school for 8 years, saddling him or herself with a mountain of debt, all for the gruesome privilege of butchering disproportionately black and brown babies all day. Still, I have trouble imagining how, once she's decided murdering her baby is the best option, instead of partaking in the taking of a tiny life, she lets a stranger do it, while she scrolls through some listicle entitled 29 Pictures That Prove Japan is the Most WTF Country on Earth. What a lost opportunity. Luckily, there are people who work tirelessly to make sure that future opportunities to murder another baby remain safe, legal, and not too rare, many of whom are men. Believe it or not, there are hundreds, no, thousands of men willing to forego the thrill of murdering their own child because they see that act as the exclusive right of a woman exercising control over her womb, where life is cheapest. Yeah, I said it. Well, you fair-weather fans who want to beat the crowds to the parking lot can take off now. For those of you willing to stay until the last out, I offer a little background on how I came upon these views. When I was a younger man, I, like all but the weirdest of weirdos, thought of myself as pro-abortion. Everyone I knew was all for it. Hell, it was the 80s. I probably sat in on a few. Only your super wacko born-again or a misogynistic psychopath for the fabled patriarchy was against abortion. Back then, we all understood without question that a woman's body is her own, to do with whatever she wants, blah, blah, blah. Accepted without a moment of second thought, as one might the theory of evolution or the heliocentric view of our heavens, all widely and clearly used as a basic measure of having a functional awareness of the world around you. You wouldn't necessarily hate a creationist, or for that matter, a Ptolemaean, but you'd understand that they were borderline retarded and worthy of scorn. And by virtue of the fundamental rights endowed by his creator, preserving life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, so too a woman's body is her own property, to do with as she pleases as part of her declared independence. Thus, if a man, or in the case of abortion, a lady, wants to run some squatter, living rent-free, off her property, she's good to go, as long as it doesn't trample the rights of another equally endowed person. That's not the smutty joke it sounds like, but I'll take the points. That sounds like a vacation spot for gay guys. I'm sorry, I was a big fan of Bob Saget. Anyway, back to the ladies and their autonomy. As far as whatever's freeloading within a gal's own body, it's hers. And if she so chooses, she holds the power of life or death over that thing kicking inside her like it were a farm animal. Life or death power. Huh. Just like what can happen in that cursed patriarchy. Perhaps worse. See, I believe that in the future, if mankind survives and at long last the human reproductive process is fully mechanized and sanitized to the point that every day nurse bots in maternity centers assist men having babies with their transgender clones, all civil and decent humans will look back at our current abortion era the way we all look back with disgust to the antebellum South. Savage, brutal, unjust, immoral. The way we collectively detest the barbarism of slavers today. One day we'll despise those who in the past had abortions. And like it or not, the books are going to show it's mostly the ladies. And we'll despise those who supported their right to strip another living person of their same inalienable rights endowed by his creator. Whether you believe in God or not doesn't matter, in that what is meant is that you and I and every fetus have rights that transcend our personal lives and are basic to what it even means to be human. Man, woman, and yes, everything in between, we all have the right to liberty and happiness, and most of all, life. Goats don't have that, the mighty Scots pine doesn't have that, and at our peril, robots will never have that. So, to the pro-choicers, I'm sorry to say that except perhaps in matters of saving a mother's life, you stand on the same moral ground as the slaveholders you and I despise. I say that not to shame you or belittle anyone. I state it merely as one will no doubt state any fact in the future as we humans and our opinions evolve. How could we not? So, how and when did I come to these thoughts about babies' rights and wrongs? I don't know how many weeks along it was, but when they showed me and my wife Myrna that ultrasound for our first child, JJ, Jimmy Jr., now and forever a boy, there was no doubt in my mind. I was looking at a human being. He looked like something you'd dip in butter sauce. He was a very early stage in his development, but indisputably human. And it occurred to me, we don't become human. Everything about us, since inception, is uniquely human. When they find your bones 100,000 years from now, there will be no denying that they're human. Not a bear or a tree. Human. And as I looked at tiny JJ squirming around in my wife, I saw the future for what I was relieved to hear was our son. Because in that belly was a human just like me that would one day have a favorite sports team and a wife that he was less a fan of. A human as you and me. Mostly me. Together, my wife and I had created someone we were going to forever put before ourselves. And I was going to make sure he'd have opportunities to do things I never got to do, whether he likes it or not, and show people his dad isn't a loser. And to think at first I begged her to abort him. And when I had my son, I was exposed to what can only be described as the angelic innocence of children. The look in his eyes when he'd tear open his Christmas gift, which I'd soon be taking away because surely he was going to break it. Seeing his bright face, eyes beaming, and knowing that I can take it now from him or any time he screws up or pisses me off. That turned my heart on abortion. Having my son, giving him my name, buying him ice skates. I got him hockey skates, and he said he wanted figure skates. And I said, no, sir, no son of mine is going to wear figure skates. But his mother said it was fine. The point is, seeing that miracle, that smiling, laughing, huggable, lovable treasure grow before my eyes, an undeniable sign from God that he's real and everything's going to be okay, that changed my views. My happiest memories in life include things like me chasing Baby J, that's what we called him then, chasing him through the apartment as he ran out of the bathroom soapy and naked and giggling, then me slipping and cracking my head on the tile and yelling about all the water he got all over the floor, and later quietly downing a six-pack to drown out Myrna telling me I'm an abuser while she endlessly yaps throughout yet another stupid crime show. And I think anyone lucky enough to get pregnant should experience that. Sure, JJ's had some problems. All kids do. When he was 6, he set fire to the chicken coop. We had to have roasted chicken every night for 2 weeks. I've had many great career achievements here on YouTube, currently hovering strong at 37 subs. But all of that is nothing compared to the joy I derive from my family. My wife, Myrna, my son, my boy, my namesake, Jimmy Jr., JJ, and his sister. You know, if done properly, there's no greater love than a parent's love for a kid. You will love your kids more than you love your country, your siblings, your parents, and certainly your partner. So, for moral, political, and personal reasons, I oppose abortion. Anyone who has sex and fails to prevent a pregnancy should have to raise their miracle babies like Myrna made me. Preferably married. No escape. Or just don't have sex, which seems to be the point of marriage anyway. Thanks for hanging in this long. This may become the new format of, Yeah, I Said It. A complete piece about 3 to 7 or 8 minutes long, followed by an after party of whatever it takes. Please let me know your thoughts below in the comments. Should we do this? Is this going to work? And don't be shy about subscribing, which will also help me grow this thing. I hope to start making money at this so I can hire a private detective to track down Myrna and this D'Entre character she seems to have left with. God, I sound like the last annoying 20 seconds of every knucklehead YouTuber, but thanks for any help. See you in our next adventure.
We